Hello, welcome back to my channel. Say hi to Katarina. She says, I can't believe you're using me in a video. Aww. This is my oldest kitty. She's about 7 or 8. She has one bad eye, which is how she ended up staying with me, because she was less adoptable. So, but she still has both eyes, it's just the other one doesn't really do much. So, yeah. But she's actually the best fly hunter in the whole group. Takes her about 3 seconds, despite only having one eye that's actually able to track the flies. So I'm not sure what she's doing. It's like magic or something. Anyway, this is gonna be, I don't know how many takes. This has been trying to narrow the focus. This is not a chatty video. Oh my gosh. Well, it might still be chatty, but not as chatty, because this is a foundational video for 2025, laying out what I'm doing for my personal reading project in 2025. Not chatting about the books I'm currently reading, not chatting about the cats beyond the intro. Oh my goodness. It's amazing how out of habit one can get doing just wrap-ups. Anyway, for 2025, I'm doing a reading project. This is going to be 4 different categories in which there's 12 options per category. And I do a random number selector to tell me which of those prompts in each category I will be focusing on for the month. Because I decided one of the things I liked about readathons this year was having those broader categories which allow you to look at your book collection differently. So instead of just looking at, authors, like all the classic authors or all the authors on a certain, book award list or something, which I still am doing, but I'm also then looking at books that have a white cover or books that have animals on the cover, that kind of thing. If you've been doing readathons, you recognize this kind of prompt. It's the sort of thing that you get extra points for if your team happens to be the one that gets the extra points for a white cover or an object on the cover or whatever it is. So it's also not like every book has to have these attributes. Just if you can, you try and select books with these attributes. So the first set is things about the cover. So that would be, prompt 1 is white. So a book with a white cover. I'm not that concerned about percentages. This is not for points. This is for my own personal reading. It's still probably going to be more white than not. But I don't care what shade of white it is. I really don't. And if it's got enough white to suit my purposes, then it's fine. Next one is a person. So a person on the cover. Black, animal, red, object, blue, building, yellow, water or landscape, green, or vehicle. So for December, I did my random number generator and I got a building on the cover. So if I want to include a book in my TBR for December and it doesn't meet the other criteria, but it has a building on a cover, then it still works. And I have actually pulled a bunch of books to read for December based on the prompts that I selected. So it's not like I can't read other things, but the books that are right here and easy to get to meet these prompts. The next category is letters. And for these, it's just 2 or 3 letters per number. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z, and I put 2+ authors in with X, Y, Z because there's not a lot of books in that category. So for this category, the game is that the title or the author, first or last name, has to start with the selected letters. So for December, I selected E and F, which is 3. So I pulled all sorts of books from my shelves and stacked them up that have either titles or authors starting with E or F. Doesn't have to be the last name, which is why I'm reading the Mrs. Jeffries series by Emily Brightwell, which I think I'm book 12 at the moment. I have to check it out. And I'm only checking them out a couple at a time because I don't want to run out of checkouts and then find that I want something and don't have any checkouts left. But I've been listening to them on Hoopla. The next book I have in print in that series is book 23, so I have a ways. And I doubt I'm going to get to book 23 this month, but you never know. With series, I can binge the series. They're not long books. They're about 200, 230 pages each. So I could binge the whole series, get caught up. The latest book in the Mrs. Jeffries series came out last year. So there's 41 so far. Yeah. Anyway, so that actually was one that I picked for the letters. Parade's End, that I'm listening to when I upload this video, while I work on the mountain of clothes behind me. This is a mountain of clothes behind me. I'm working on my capsule wardrobe for January. Got a few new things, and now I need to put the wardrobe together and put everything else away so that I can get to my bed and, that kind of thing. So I'm listening to Parade's End by Ford Maddox Ford. So one of the F's. Yeah, so that was actually the one I ended up going to the most for December. We'll see what January is like, because putting my TBR together for TBR-a-thon, I actually was pulling more from the next category, which is genres and major, chunks of books. I hesitate to say category because I'm overusing the same word. But you'll get the point. So for this one, I have science fiction, arcs, mystery and crime, series, fantasy, classics, literary fiction, in translation, nonfiction, USA, biographies, and dead white guys. That last one is one that I've been not so jokingly saying I might make a prompt for a while now, because there are a lot of dead white guys that they're not really classic authors. They're definitely not LGBTQ. They're not persons of color. They're not women, obviously. They're dead white guys. So all the prompts and all of the readathons that are specific to the category of author that you're getting points for, that's the one category you don't get extra points for. So they tend to get neglected on my shelves in favor of other stuff. Not a lot. I mean, I do read them, but like I read all the categories that are on my list. So I just don't read them as much unless I have a motivation. So if I get a 12 in this category, I get to read dead white guys, which would include James Michener and Michael Crichton and Ray Bradbury and Arthur C. Clarke and all sorts of dead white guys. And a lot of them I have, series that I've not finished, or I have, like Ray Bradbury, I have a few of his short story collections that I was intending to finish by now. So, they're all authors that I'm in progress with, for the most part. So for this one, for December, I picked 8, which is in translation. So if I want to read books that were translated into the English from something else, that works for this category. I haven't pulled for this category that much for December, but in its early days, it's only the 11th. But it hasn't been the one I've picked most of my books based on. Mostly it's been the letter, the E or F. But there are some books that I want to read that are in translation that I might use that as my excuse. We'll see. This is kind of the trial run to see how much I like it and if I want to tweak anything. But it's going well, so that's why we're making it official with the video. The last category I actually added after I had selected my numbers for December. So I had to roll for a number when I was doing an earlier iteration of this video, and I got a 12. So I'll just stick with it because it works. This is subject matter. So this is actually subjects that I've studied in college, at college level, that I kind of didn't want to stop studying just because I'm not a student in those subjects anymore. So if I incorporate them in some way or another in my reading, I'm at least, dipping a toe back into the subject, even if that's all it is. So these subjects are physics, math and economics, psychology and sociology, philosophy and political theory. Why political theory, you ask? I was specifically studying socioeconomic and political theory in grad school. So I stuck with political theory, but it's kind of socioeconomic and political theory. Applied philosophy, basically. History, art, history, and art, ecology, chemistry and biology, which would include medicine, any of that kind of stuff. Ecology is more ecosystems, biospheres, population systems, that kind of stuff. I love population ecology and landscape ecology, so larger scale systems in ecology. And that one I may actually do some interlibrary loan or actually use my university library card. I have a community library card for the university library, so I might get some current reading in that subject, because that was one of the ones that if I could drive, I would have stuck with that subject. But it's something where most of the entry-level jobs are like ranger kind of jobs, where you're driving around in the agency's pickup, which I can't do. And it's not a job that's made for a Jamie. The sciencey part I can totally do. But the fieldwork part of ecology jobs is not something I'm built for. So it's still a subject I'm really interested in, and that's kind of why I want to get my math skills back up, so that I can do some more modeling of ecological systems using math, just for the hell of it, Then we have Russian, German, French, and literature. The languages, so Russian I've only studied 2 semesters of. That one I'm still pretty rough on. And actually, I took my first semester of Russian as a freshman in my first program of study in college. When I went back for a second undergraduate degree, I needed an elective in my last semester and thought, well, I only took Russian 1. Why don't I take Russian 2? How hard could it be? It had been 10 years in between. So I had Russian 2 10 years later. I did get a B, like a B+, so given that circumstance, it was pretty good. But my Russian is a bit weak, and I won't be probably reading in Russian in 2025. But I might at least get to where I'm not having to remember what each of the letters sounds like. Yeah. I used to be a lot better than that anyway. So that one will probably be more just reading Russian literature and translation. But there are a lot of bits of Russian literature where there's phrases, at least, that they may be written out in our alphabet, but you still have to know what those words are in order to understand what they're saying. And so you get a little practice. I've read a few of those this year, so I know they're around. Barring that, I might read, Victor Pelevin or, something like that. Authors that people my age in Russia are likely to be reading. Then for German and French, in both of those languages, where I left off in class, my next class should be Intermediate Level 1, which would include reading in the language. So, for those, if I get a 10, which is German, or an 11, which is French, I have books in those languages, and I get to read them with a dictionary on hand. At least a little bit. I don't have to do that for the entire month, but I have to at least try it and see how far I get and not just give up when it's hard. Because that is part of studying that you lose after a while when you're not a student. Like, when you're just reading, if it gets hard, and I don't DNF as much as a lot of people do because this kind of thing bugs me, I don't want to get in the habit of giving up because it was hard. And when you're doing languages that you're learning the language, it is hard. It's not something where you can just sit and read it and passively take in the story. So, yeah, that's going to take some self-discipline. But I need to at least try getting back into it. I think German's my stronger language of the two, but I've studied French more recently, because I studied French in grad school. And German was undergrad. So probably I'm further along in German. Probably my French is more recent and might be easier to get back into. And we were reading plays in French in my last French class. It was still beginner third semester or something like that. So it wasn't like, intermediate level, you're reading short stories and, but we were actually reading plays by the end of it. So that's going to be my standard. Try to get back to where I left off and move forward a bit. I'm not sure what literature is going to mean, but that's what I picked for this month. So maybe I also read, something about, like read the introductions to the things I'm reading. I don't know. I'm not too concerned about it, but it just means that I actually will be focusing on the subject matter when I pick those numbers. For January, the subject I picked was 6, which is art, history, and art. So for that one, off the bat, I have The Agony and the Ecstasy by Irving Stone, which is a novelized biography of Michelangelo. So that's going to be on my TBR for January. So that's my 4-category personal reading challenge game. So near the end of every month, I will be picking my numbers for the next month. If I'm doing a readathon and the teams have colors or things on the cover, that kind of stuff, that they get points for, I will be trying to select my team based on what numbers I got. Because the other thing about being someone that reads 300 to 400 plus books a year is I don't really want to skew the odds in unpleasant ways by joining the same person's team every time. I don't think I'm doing that anyway. I have too many different friends in BookTube. But just in case that were to be a problem, my team will be selected based on what fits closest with the numbers that I've already selected for that month. So if I select a 1 for the first category, white on the cover, then if there is a team that has extra points coming to them for having white on the cover, that's my team. Whichever team it is. There'll be a little wiggle room because sometimes genres come into it too. And I still don't read romance. I'm not going to, hamstring my team by not reading any books in our subject area because I don't read them. Yeah. So there'll be some wiggle room, but there are 4 different categories, so I might be able to fit things differently, and we'll see. And obviously there is a genre category, so that might work too. It'll be a case-by-case basis, but where possible, I am going to try and make that rule stick. I will probably do TBR Takedown again with Reading 1001 on Goodreads. I did miserably in that game this year. I think I finished 1, maybe 2. And Parade's End was supposed to have been one of them, and I didn't finish it. I will have finished it by the end of the week, but it's a couple months after when I was supposed to have finished it for points. It was very sad. So, yeah. I'm going to try it again. I've got books stacked up. I'm going to probably do it more like a 25 and 25 sort of thing, though. And instead of strictly going by the TBR Takedown, I'm going to see how it goes. In TBR Takedown, you select 24 books, and you number them, and then they select a number each month, and that's the number that you read for that month, and you get points. And the first couple months you get just a small amount of points, but if you keep going every month and get your book done, it starts adding up. So if you've completed the first, I think it was 3 or 4 months successfully, the next one you get more points for that book. And it stays on that level for a couple months. And then it ratchets up again. And I think there's 4 levels to the ratcheting. So if you keep going and every month you finish the book that you were supposed to finish, by the last couple months you're getting a huge heap of points for each of those books you finish. If you miss a month, it bumps you back to the beginning and you have to start over. So at this point, I already am way off. I basically am not playing anymore for this year. But I liked getting the points. I don't do anything with the points, but I still liked getting the points. So I'm going to try that again. I'm figuring out which books are more likely to actually work. I may end up doing a lot of books that there are LibriVox audiobooks for, because I know I can finish those. But yeah, that'll probably be tied into the 25 and 25 in some way. Beyond that, I don't know, because the problem with TBR Takedown is that 12 of those books you won't get to in the year. So if you wanted to get to all of them, that's not the right game. So I may do a separate list for TBR Takedown and 25 and 25 and just not worry about the 25 being Boxall's 1001 books you must read before you die books. I haven't really decided yet. I also have a lot of books by the same authors. I got a whole bunch of Edith Wharton at the last Bag of Books sale. So, those are interesting. I've got Louise Erdrich, which I don't think any of her books are on the 1001 list yet. But I wouldn't be surprised if they do another edition, if she became one of the authors on there. So I've, books like that they're that caliber of modern classics, they're just not on the list. So that might be my 25. I will let you guys know that's still something I'm contemplating. And that I will probably continue to contemplate while I'm listening to Parade's End. Anyway, I'll let you guys move on with your reading. Let me know if you are doing any interesting reading games for 2025. And I will put my categories in the description so you can see what I'm doing. And if you want to, make up something like what I'm doing, you'll have my template for what I'm doing anyway. I highly recommend customizing it based on what you read. So I don't read romance. It is not on my list. If you read romance or romantasy or YA or manga or any of those, you'll want to customize your genre list to include what you actually read. I read a lot of nonfiction biographies. So for me, like months where you're focused on nonfiction or on biographies, like April was People April this year, which is biographies. I have so many to choose from that I just stack them all up and get through whichever ones look good. If that is not you, you do not need to have a biographies category if you don't think you're going to get to it. That is cool. Swap in something you actually read, make it yours. It's cool. And hopefully I will see some of you guys on my teams so that we can win some readathons. Or at least have fun. Yeah, that works too. Talk to you later, guys. Bye!